Hello people, thought I'd do another album review, and this time I thought I'd change it up a bit and do another 2013 release. And that's because I've done loads of course, old albums, all of them, a Sugar discography nearly. So this came out slightly earlier in the year, but I thought I'd address it anyway because it's an absolutely awesome album. And I'm talking about the new album from Ade Spartacus. Now I believe this album came out in April, about the middle of April, maybe the 14th of 2013, and in terms of death metal, because this is a death metal album, it's one of the best that I've heard in a long time. I think in the last 2 years, this album, alongside Hideous Divinity, Obeisance Rising, have been two of the death metal albums that I've just been listening to on repeat over and over and over again, because they're just solid the whole way through. Now, these guys are another Italian band. There's a lot of good Italian death metal out at the moment, this band being one of them, Hideous Divinity being another, Hour of Penance being another as well, and it's obvious that there's a lot of good music coming out from that area, so I thought that was really cool. Now before I get into the music, I thought I'd show you a little bit of what came with this album when I bought it. I bought it directly from the record label, which is Blast Head Records, and I got this mini poster here, which is just like the album cover, which I thought was really cool. But also, I got this, which is a free little CD in this tiny little paper case, which is pretty cool, that I got. It's called Cranial Detonation, and it's basically a compilation of loads of death metal songs from the bands that are also on Blast Head Records alongside Ade, and I just thought that was really cool that I got this. I wasn't expecting this through the post alongside this album, so that was a really nice surprise. If you have a look inside, you can see all the band logos. I think there's about 26 different bands or songs on this CD, so that was absolutely fantastic. I haven't listened to all of it yet, but what I've heard of it so far has been really good, so I'm intending on going back to the Blast Heads Records Bandcamp page at some point in the future when I have a bit more money and get a few more albums, I think, because those guys at Blast Head seem really cool. They're always kind of interacting with people on their YouTube channel and sending this free stuff with albums, so yeah, definitely go check them out. They're absolutely incredible, and this album is one of the best albums in my opinion that I think's come out this year, and it's on this record label, so show those guys some love. But in terms of the music, I guess you could almost say that it's a similar formula to a band like Nile perhaps, where they take a kind of lyrical theme, like a specific lyrical theme, and additional instrumentation to help create like the atmosphere or sound of like a particular time period or particular setting. And with Nile, of course, that being ancient Egypt and Lovecraftian themes and stuff like that. But with Spartacus, it's always been like the ancient Roman Empire, which I just think works brilliantly well when you put like that kind of theme alongside death metal, have it in a death metal context, because both of those things, the ancient Roman Empire and death metal, are things that like instantly make you think of like power and just brutality, really. So it works really well in that regard. Now, the actual like additional instrumentation and sort of choral vocals that are used to create this ancient vibe, overall on this album are very, very good. When I first listened to it, and you hear the first song, Betrayer from Thrace, which was the first song I heard off this album, I wasn't too sure to begin with. I must admit there are a couple of points on that song where I thought it was a tiny bit clunky to start with, but as soon as you listen to the rest of the album, it gets better and better as the songs progresses, and it really does work well with the album. It just complements it perfectly, in my opinion. You have songs such as Sanguine Pluit in Arena and the actual title song, Dueling the Shadows of Spartacus, and also 6,000 Crosses, which are three really good songs where this style, this like additional kind of musical vibe that's put in really, really works well. So go check out those songs for listening to that kind of area of this album, because it works really, really well. I particularly like the pipe sounds, like the ancient pipes. They sort of almost make you think of like the northern tip of Africa at like the height of the Roman Empire. It's really, really cool. You can definitely hear that on Sanguine Pluit in Arena, So that's one to check out. That's one of my favourites on the album, so definitely go find that on YouTube. It's fantastic. But in terms of the actual kind of conventional instruments that you would expect on death metal, like guitars, the bass, the vocals and the drums, this is top notch. This is some seriously good work here on this album. The first time I heard about this album was actually from George Cowley's Facebook page, and I heard that he was going to be playing on this album, and I instantly thought to myself, fuck, I've got to check this album out. This is going to be awesome. Because if you know George Cowley in Nile, you will know that he is an absolutely just incredible death metal drummer. And that's no different here. You have an incredibly good show on the drums here. Really, really fast, but really tight blast beats, as you might expect from Nile's music and other technical death metal bands. As well as some more syncopated work, which goes on the drums as well, which is sort of heightened or sort of like brought forward by the guitar riffs, which are also very like technical, very syncopated in certain songs, such as on Dueling the Shadow of Spartacus. That's a very good example, as well as on Sanquine, Pluton Arena. So again, check those songs out, because they're two of the best, strongest songs on this album, in my opinion. And yeah, the guitars are just incredible on this album. They really, really are. Really, really interesting, engaging riffs the whole way through that are incredibly heavy, but still like really quite groovy, and have quite interesting rhythms to them. Like I said, quite syncopated. So that really helps it stay engaging, as well as like this instrumentation, like the additional stuff that goes on, and how it's sort of like layered all the way throughout. It keeps it engaging. And a really good example of some great kind of solo work that also appears on this album would be The Endless Runaway. You have some really interesting kind of lines going on about a minute in, where you have harmonised guitar work going on, and that is just incredible. It sounds really good, it's blistering, and it works like perfectly in time with the double pedal that's going on. So that's another really good one to check out. Again, one of my favourites, but there are so many good songs on here to sort of talk about and pick out and call your favourites that it's almost impossible. But here I am talking about the favourites on this album, but hey. But I would have to say that this album does deserve a 9 out of 10. I'd definitely have to give it that, because I must have listened to this album about 20 times already, and it just gets better, it seems like, the more times you listen to it. But the one sort of negative that I'd point out, well, not really a negative, just like a little kind of gripe, I suppose, would be on the last song with the additional instrumentation. It's the one song where it doesn't seem to work for me personally too well, and it's on the point quite near the end of the song where the bass guitar and the guitars and then like the ancient stringed instruments are sort of trading off. That seems to me a little bit forced, and like I said earlier, a little bit clunky, but that's just me, and it still works really well as a closing song. It's really powerful towards the end. So even with that minor gripe, it's still incredible. So Ade Spartacus, this is a new release, 2013. Definitely go buy this. Have a look at the Blast Head Records Bandcamp page. Go check out some of the other artists on it. It's got some incredible death metal, and I'll see you guys next video.